All right, we are live with the fabulous Lucy Lines. Now, I must say that Lucy and I have known each other for a number of years.
Not long. It's not that long.
Yeah, we went to school together in Adelaide, and
that was only 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it was only 10 years ago. But you know what's really lovely, Lucy, is that just, you know, it's really probably only been the last couple of years that we've really connected since, you know, the last reunion, and just sort of Facebook allows us to do that, right? So
it's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And, you know, I just love this group. For me, has been so lovely because just actually delving into people's stories and what they do, and not making it necessarily about business, but making it just about what people are doing out there is really exciting for me. So for those people that are watching live, we're going to be talking to Lucy today just about her career and about what she does for people in helping them create their families. And it's quite exciting and interesting and totally different to what we're probably listening to online at the moment. So Lucy, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I was actually talking to my mum just last week about the whole virtual thing, and she lives in regional South Australia, and she was saying she thinks that this whole coronavirus thing is going to bring people offline and back into communities. And I said, no, I think it's doing the opposite, because the people that I'm communicating with are so much more social online and so much more involved, and I'm getting connections with people I haven't had connections with for ages because they're back online. And we sort of all moved away from Facebook for a while because it was all a bit dreary and a bit got full of news and clickbait. And now we're all connecting again, and people are starting to chat to each other again. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I totally agree. So for those that are watching online, as usual, if you can please just put your name. If you haven't yet connected with StreamYard, I can't actually see who it is that's commenting. So if you're saying, I've got someone lovely that's just said nice to be here, but I can't see your name. So if you can just throw in who it is, then I can actually say hello to you. If you have any questions, please put them in, because I can actually throw them onto the screen and Lucy can talk to those questions. So throw them in. So starting off, let's talk about your journey. So the last time, you know, we hung out was at school, end of year 12. What did you do? Where did you go? What led you to here?
Given that was only last year, I haven't done look, I left school and was determined not to go to university, and I went overseas instead. I lived in Sweden on a student exchange for a year. I think you went to Japan the same year, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then from there I went, so I did the student exchange, came back to Australia and still wasn't going to go to university. I decided I was going to work at McDonald's and that was going to be my future. I lasted about 6 months there. And before I just went, oh my God, I think I have to do something else. This is crazy. And I ended up doing a bachelor degree in agricultural science. And I majored in animal breeding and genetics, which was just blew my mind.
What the hell made you like, oh, I'm just going to work at McDonald's, but you know what, then I'm going to talk about, you know, breeding. And
well, actually what it was back in those days there was a government office called the CES, the Commonwealth Employment Service, and they had a computer, which, okay, I don't want to show my age too much, but it was a long time ago. And the idea of a computer was quite a novelty. They were really only in libraries and government offices. And I went in and sat down at this computer, and there was a quiz you could do that would direct you to the right kind of career for you. And I did that quiz, and it said that a university degree in agricultural science might suit me. And I thought, well, I'm not doing anything else, I might as well do that. And so I did that. I applied for that, got into it, did that, and after the first year or two gravitated towards the animal stuff and ended up after 5 years majoring in animal breeding and genetics. And from there I went and worked as a vet nurse for a while, still determined to go back and finish my travelling. So I'd promised myself and everybody who would listen that I was going to sell everything I owned and backpack around Europe, but I had to have a degree first.
Yeah.
So I got the degree, and then I went home to save up all the money and go. And my dad presented me with a course in Melbourne that had come across his desk. He's a GP in regional South Australia, and this course had come across his desk, which was a master's in clinical embryology. And I had no idea what that was, and I read a little bit about it, and there was a graduate diploma in reproductive science as well. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll apply. It'll shut you up. They only accept 15 people worldwide every year. There is no chance I'm going to get into that. I'll apply, and then I'll keep working and saving my money to go on this trip. And, of course, I got in as Murphy's Law and did a graduate diploma in reproductive science. And then from that went into embryology and worked as a clinical embryologist. And through the embryology, I then got my chance to travel. So when I'd been working for Monash IVF for 2 years, I think, here in Melbourne, someone came to me and said, now you speak Swedish, don't you? And I said, oh, God, I did a while ago. Yeah. And I said, oh, but I've got this friend.
Yeah, I used to speak Japanese.
Once upon a time I did. And they said, I've got this friend in a clinic in Gothenburg who needs an embryologist. Because you've been trained by Monash IVF, they're happy to just take you off the bat. So ring this guy and you've basically got a job. So I ended up going back to Gothenburg as an embryologist to work.
Wow.
And from there went to the UK, worked in the UK for a while. From there, I was headhunted by Monash IVF to come back to Australia and set up a clinic in Rockhampton for them. Ooh. So I managed a clinic, or set up a clinic and managed it in Rockhampton for 2 years. And then I went back to Sweden to marry my husband. Because
you met him in Sweden.
I met him in Sweden. He's actually a Brit, but his first wife was Swedish.
Yep.
So he was living as a single dad in Sweden with 50% custody of his 3 then teenage children. Wow. And we moved into their house with a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, instant family.
Yep. And so then I lived in Sweden for 5.5 years, and I sort of worked clinically in Dublin for a while. I did a locum in Dublin when I was living in Gothenburg in Sweden. And then I moved away from the clinical embryology and became a global embryology support officer for a company who make products for IVF clinics. So Wow. They make culture media and needles and pipettes and all that kind of stuff. So I did that for 5 years, and then I came back to Melbourne. That's me in a nutshell. Then when I came back to Melbourne, I worked for Melbourne IVF as a GP liaison officer, so basically doing GP education. And in that process, I noticed the massive gaps in fertility. So from the couple who were sitting at home going, this is taking longer than we hoped, and it seems like all our friends are getting pregnant and we're not, and mum keeps asking me when she's going to get a grandchild, and I'm going a bit crazy here. From that position to you then go and see your GP. Your GP, quite frankly, has no idea what to do with you because their bread and butter is colds and flus and blood pressure and diabetes and all of that kind of stuff. They go, here's a blood screen panel to do and come back and see me in a month. And when you go back, they go, oh, yes, this all looks pretty normal because it's all normal. Here's a referral to a fertility specialist. And depending who you end up with, some fertility specialists' quotas are very high and they need to meet those quotas to stay with the business and whatever. There's a lot of business behind it. And depending who you end up with, you might get rolled straight into IVF the next month. And nowhere along that line, has anyone really talked to you about egg health and sperm health and timing, which is missing from all of our school education. We don't learn how to get pregnant. We learn how to get pregnant. And so then when it becomes difficult, we don't know what to do or where to turn. And the GP assumes that knowledge is there, but it isn't. And so nowhere on the line does anyone really talk to you about some of the things that you can do yourself to improve your fertility. So that's where I come in. So what I'm doing now is Two Lines Fertility, which is where I can help people to understand some of that natural aspect with timing and egg health and sperm health and how to do all of that stuff, nutrition and all of those things. And then I can help guide them to the specialist who's going to be right for them and understand their journey.
Love it. How good is that? Because I hear so many stories over the years of people that have really struggled and have tried, 8 times through IVF. And even my brother, I remember he and his wife struggled for their first child, and it wasn't until she went away on a 1-month trip to Guatemala to do some, reconnaissance work, and she came back. When she came back, they fell pregnant naturally, and it was, and they realised that a lot of what was causing it was stress, internal stress.
And you can't say to someone, just relax, because it's not about just doing a yoga class a day or oh, that's it, I'm just going to stop thinking about it and flick a switch. That's a really thrown around term that just doesn't sit well with anybody. But the reality is, work out what's stressing you. Are you working too hard? Are you working too many hours? Are you not eating right? Not sleeping? All of those kinds of things. Obsessing over your fertility by reading everything you can and nothing else. You're only reading fertility, you're not reading anything else. You're analysing everything. Work out what's stressing you and then how you can manage that. And that's through mindfulness exercises and various different things that you can do to help you manage that. So saying just relax is a really throwaway line. But let's work together to work out what foods you can eat that are going to be easy. I don't want you to be on some stressful meal plan. I have to eat this. I can't eat that. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to say eat more of this and less of that. And consciously replace some of your products in your kitchen and your cleaning and your bathroom and whatever that are impacting how your hormones work, and consciously replace them with things that aren't going to do that so much, because you don't know that. We're never taught that information. So that's part of this process that I go through. And in that process, if you're not pregnant after 3 months of hanging out with me and going through some of that mindfulness stuff, then let's get you in front of a fertility specialist who's going to keep going with that journey. And IVF is the answer for some people. There is no other answer. For most people, there are a lot of answers, and IVF is one of them. But for some people, IVF is the only answer, and that's really daunting too. What even is IVF, and what do you mean IVF? And that's okay, I'll just do IVF. Nobody just does IVF. So
it's an intense process, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. So tell me the story of somebody that you've helped that's made you realise that this is absolutely the right career choice for you.
Oh, look, I just love helping people. I think I was born to help people, and it drives people crazy because I myself don't necessarily like taking help from other people, but I love to give it to everybody. So, I put the analogy, if there was a car accident, I would jump in and go, right, this is what we need to do, and we can do this, and we can do that. And everyone would be going, oh, my God, how can you cope with that? And I'd be like, because I just have to do it. And then afterwards I fall apart. So like when this coronavirus thing hit, I went into, right, how can I help? What can I do? I can do this and I can do that. And IVF's been cancelled, and I can support people to do all these other things during this time. And then, and so coronavirus hasn't really hit me yet. I'm sure it will. But in that process, I've come across people who have been so one particular example is a very recent one of a girl who has spent the last probably 25 years of her life believing that she would never have children because she's never, ever had a period, because she had an eating disorder in her teens that messed with her hormones. She's got a total hormonal imbalance and everything's just gone completely haywire, overtraining, really low BMI. And I've been really nurturing her for 6 or 8 weeks. And like I said, I'm not a naturopath, I'm not a nutritionist. I just have sensible information, and I'm not going to bully you about what you need to do. I'm just going to nurture you and love you and work with you. And she texted me the other day, she said, I've just had my first ever natural period. I've never had a period in my life.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not that excited to get a period myself, but
when you haven't had them for 25 years and you think that that's the reason why you're never going to have kids, then...
So once you get a period, then there's much more opportunity to get pregnant, and she may actually get pregnant naturally, because your period is a sign that you've ovulated. You don't get a period unless you ovulate, and you don't get a baby unless you ovulate. So if you're not getting periods, you're not ovulating. And if you're not ovulating, you're not going to get pregnant. But the fact that she's had a period now means that she's ovulated. Oh, my God, amazing. So then I can follow that journey all the way along and go, yay. Or there was another one a month or two ago who, it must have been just before Christmas, I met with her, and she'd been to see, she'd had some fertility treatment. She had one cycle, I think, of IVF, and she didn't really understand what was going on, and she was kind of rolled into it and didn't really, just kind of did it because that was what she was told she needed to do. And I met with her in November or December, just before Christmas, and we talked through some of her options, and we talked through some of the nutritional things and the endocrine disrupting chemicals and some of that stuff. And then I checked in with her in March just to see how she was getting on, because I hadn't heard from her, and I thought I'll just check in and see how she's getting on now, if we're ready to roll into the next, next part of the process, which is to choose a specialist. And she said, we'd already talked about choosing a specialist, so she had a bit of a short list, but I wasn't sure where she'd come with that. And she said, she texted me back and she said, I turned up at my first appointment and he sent me off for an ultrasound, and as part of the starting the treatment, and when they did the ultrasound, they found twins.
Oh, no.
Naturally. I'm like, oh, shit, sorry. I didn't mean to do twins. But yay. And for her, it was giving up the fanatical exercise and loving herself a little bit more and just nurturing herself a little bit more. Amazing. Which sounds really wishy-washy for a scientist. I'm a scientist. I like the X and Y and Z, but that's what it was. But
it's science-based nurturing, there's a reason behind, but you're not doing it in a scientific way, which is probably really nice for people, because I think half the battle around not conceiving is mental. There's so much in the head that tells you, so many beliefs around, I can't do this because of this, but if you remove that, and then it creates the pathway to possibility, right? So
totally.
I love that.
Trusting in the process and the nurturing stuff is just really important.
Interesting. So based around that, so talk to me then about how you've been affected with what you do during this time, because obviously you said that IVF is cancelled, they can't go through that process. What's happening?
So that we're expecting an announcement today, actually. So as we speak right now, I haven't heard anything about today's announcement yet, but 2 weeks ago, I think it was, they cancelled all elective surgery Australia-wide, which IVF is included in elective surgery. Now, there's a lot of debate online at the moment about the fact that infertility is not elective. Obviously, you don't elect to be infertile, but I think that comes down to a definition of elective surgery. And when we hear the word elective surgery, we think that means having a boob job, but actually it's knee replacements and hip replacements and anything that's not life-threatening.
That's right.
IVF. So when IVF treatments all got cancelled a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people hit the panic button and completely freaked out because, for a lot of women, that's a very, very scary thing to do. Especially the women who are in the over 40 category, who are under the impression that this is their absolutely last chance. Now, I am on the flip side of that a little bit. I kind of think that we could all do with a bit of a pause in IVF for a while. Because there are a lot of people who get rolled through IVF cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle, and they don't get an opportunity to just pause for a minute and go, hang on a minute.
What's really going on?
Is this the right thing? Am I with the right specialist? Am I looking after myself? Am I really giving myself the best chance? I'm forking out, 6, 7, 8 grand for this. There's no guarantees it's going to work. Maybe if I give it the best shot of working by looking after myself and my partner first, we're going to have a much better opportunity when it does start up again. So when coronavirus first hit, I went straight on the phone to my nutritionist friend, a couple of nutritionist friends and a couple of naturopaths. Said, come on, we've got to do something. We've got to pull something together, because there are going to be people looking for what the hell can I do in this time when I can't be doing IVF? And I set up a VIP group on my Facebook. So under my Facebook page, there's a VIP group in there where I have been doing weekly live streams. We did, the first one was with a psychologist, a fertility counsellor. Like, oh my God, how can we manage some of these really big feelings that we're all having right now? And then we got the nutritionist in. We've had the hormone health experts coming in. We've had a physio. You would know her, actually. She's from school, Tori Toogood. Do you remember Tori? Yeah, I do. He was on Sunday talking about pelvic pain and pelvic support, health, all that kind of stuff. And so that's been a really awesome place to just start building some of that nurturing stuff. Again, there's that word, but some of that nurturing stuff through that VIP group. And in my personal business, I noticed a bit of a dip while everyone just went, and then it's picking back up again to, okay, you know what, this is just a bit of a new normal.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a bit of a new normal. It's pretty good. Basically, there's stuff we can do. So.
And I think that's the thing. I think, I mean, I've been the same. I haven't noticed a massive dip. There's been a little bit of a drop-off, but now it's stable again and it's moving through. But it'll either just slowly drop off over time as people work out what it is they need, or it'll pick up again. You know, it's one of those things. And I think, if you're still done.
My business is not huge anyway. It's just me here in my front room. And because of, my printer's just started because my homeschooling daughter clearly has decided to print something out behind me.
I love that. Yeah, don't worry. I've got kids in each corner of the house doing stuff at the moment.
But I think the nature of the business that I do and the way that I do it, it's very much one-on-one and very much limited. I can only look after 4 or 5 people a month because it takes a lot out of me emotionally because I invest a lot in it. So it's not a huge business. And so it hasn't, it's not as subject to the changes as some other businesses are.
Yeah, sure. But I love that because, I talk to so many people about this, from a business perspective. My business isn't a huge business either. It's the business that I want it to be, and I think that's the thing. You make it that way and you design it that way because that's how you want to do business, right? I've
had a lot of people jump in and say, oh, Lucy, you should do this and you could do that and you could do it all online and then you wouldn't have to do it. I'm like, but that's the whole reason I'm doing it, because I want to actually have that connection with the people and support them through their journey. There are enough people in these people's lives who are just bang, 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 money, money, money. I want your money and here's some information. I actually want to hold them through that and nurture them. There's that bloody word again. I don't mean, I do mean that, obviously.
You do mean that because that's a core part of what you do. And I think because you do that, you will be there for these people through this time, through all of the, doubts they have and the stress that they're going through, thinking that this is their last chance and they're not able to do anything. Yep. So, I think that's
and then people text me at 6:00 on a Saturday night going, oh, my God, what about this? And I go, it's okay. I gotcha. And I text them back.
That's it. Exactly. I love that. I love that. So from running a business, you've got this ideal, you've put yourself in this ideal position where you're helping people, which is really, really fabulous. What are the things that you notice through doing that make what you do unique? Because, what you do is relatively specialized. There's probably not a lot of people that do what you do in Australia. No one else. There you go. So
there are a lot of other wellness type people who work as fertility coaches and they do an amazing job. But as far as the guidance to the right specialist, no one else has the experience and backing that I have, if you like. I know most of these.
Right, so
Yeah, I've worked with them. I know them. I know the comments that they make in theatre behind your back. I know the ones that sit in the tea room going, oh, my bloody God, this woman had 17 billion questions and I don't want to answer them.
Yeah.
I know the ones who say, hey, you know what, I actually just spent half an hour with this patient because she really needed me. I know which ones are like that and I know them. And not just the Melbourne ones, but the industry's really small. So even if I don't know them, I have an embryologist friend in Perth, for example. And so when I get a client in Perth who says, who should I see? I ring my embryologist friend in Perth because she's behind the scenes.
Yes.
She knows which ones are good, get good results that aren't published anywhere. She knows which ones are kind, which ones are business-like, which ones are straight up, which ones are going to pussyfoot around a little bit more. And everyone wants something different. There's no one best fertility specialist. There's your fertility specialist.
Yeah.
And so it's a step beyond the health coaching and fertility coaching that people do into the evidence-based stuff as well as the experience-based stuff. So I myself had a bit of a fertility journey. I didn't ever have IVF, but I did have, I think, 5 miscarriages in total by the end. So I had one before my daughter was born and then another 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many, and then gave up and then had a surprise natural conception at 44 years old, 43 I was when I conceived. So
you've been on the journey. Yeah.
I get a lot of women coming to me at 42 going, so it's over, isn't it? I'm like, well, probably the statistics say yes, it is. But my experience tells me that not necessarily. That's right. You need to accept that it might not ever happen, but you also need to have your ducks in a row to make sure you're giving it the best chance to happen if it is going to happen. Yeah,
interesting. But I think now, longer and longer, people are waiting longer and longer to start having children anyway. And, I've got a number of friends that did go through IVF but didn't conceive until they were 45, 46, so
there's a lot of really good reasons why the female human body is designed to have its babies in its 20s, not its 40s. My God, it's hard work.
That's it. I totally
agree. I love him. But, having a 2.5-year-old at 45, 40, what am I now, 47, is hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I could manage that. I mean, I'm 48 and my kids are, 16 and 13. I couldn't have a toddler running around and kill me.
Work. He's full on. And his sister doesn't understand when we get to 6 o'clock and say, please help us get him to bed. We need to get him upstairs and into bed. And then you need to go to bed too because I need to sit down right now.
I need to just me, not Mum.
No, you need to go away now. I'm done. Exactly. Which is, it's funny that we say that. We can joke about that, but I get in a lot of trouble on my social media because on the one hand, I don't want to be complaining about my children in isolation because everyone goes, you don't know how good you've got it and you shouldn't complain and blah, 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 blah. And then on the other hand, you talk about how much you value having your children around and how that you're so honoured and so, understanding of how lucky you are. And they say, oh, you're rubbing your face in it now. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. All right.
I just won't talk about my children.
I'm just not. And so I don't talk about my kids much on my social media at all because it's just too hard to get that balance right between gratitude and normal mumness. The normal mumness is sometimes you're going to get pissed off with your kids and I just have to be careful not to vent that anywhere.
Yeah, that's hard, isn't it? I never thought about it. It would be really tricky. So how are you marketing your business at the moment?
Social media mostly. I hang out mostly on Instagram. I love Instagram. It's my place. I love the creativity of it. I like being able to create nice little pretty tiles and make it all look pretty. Yeah. And I love the connectedness of it because I do quite a bit on Facebook and most of the traffic to my website comes from Facebook, but I don't get any interaction on Facebook. Facebook's very quiet for me. My reach and my, all of those parameters that we measure are all not excellent on Facebook because people don't want to interact on Facebook because as soon as they comment on one of my posts, all their friends see it. And they don't want their friends going, oh, I didn't know you guys were having trouble. Oh, you okay? You don't want that. And so all my interaction comes on Instagram because no one else sees it. You can comment on, as many different fertility pages as you like and no one's going to see it except the page. So I get lots of interaction on Instagram and then I put a lot of that stuff on Facebook. So it's all just organic, word of mouth and social media. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And I think everybody's jumped onto social media now because they've got more time to do it.
I did a live last night with one of my naturopath friends, and there were 280 people watching it at one point. And I was like, oh, my God, this is like standing in an auditorium. I'm scared now.
That's crazy. I mean, we've got one person, hi Tiny, watching us right now. You know, because I think people are really they're either all in or they're just all off at the moment because there's so much noise going on. But I guess, you know, I think the key thing here is the connection. And, you know, because you're already doing that before any of this pandemic came about, you were already doing that and connecting and whatever, nothing really changes, you know.
Except when I go on to do a live, I notice across the top of my Instagram stream that there are, you know, 7 other people doing lives at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'll join in. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. How do you find, so Instagram, so you do IGTV, do you?
I have been doing a series of IGTV in isolation. So I've put that in as a series, which is just it was going to be daily, but it got a bit boring. Chat about what I was up to that day. I also do quite a lot of Instagram lives, and I try to invite someone on to join me so we can have a chat. And
well, I've never used Instagram for live chats or for live stuff. I use Facebook and I live stream to YouTube.
So the thing with Instagram lives, I've found, I mean, the downside of those is they sit on your story for 24 hours and then they're gone.
Yeah.
So you can't save them and review them or replay them or send the replay out to your mailing list or anything like that. It's just a here and now chat. And in some ways that's really good because you can just have an impromptu chat with someone. And if you go live yourself, anyone who's watching you can click a button and join in and be live with you. And so that if you haven't actually invited someone to talk to you, that can work really nicely as a very organic kind of conversation. That's just a chat that other people can join in and watch and ask questions on. The Facebook ones I tend to get very low reach on, again, because people don't want anyone to know that they're watching it. And if they start watching it, it pops up in their friend's newsfeed saying so-and-so is watching this live, would you like to join them? And so being that my business is so personal and so niche, people don't want everyone to know about that. I do those into my private VIP group because that doesn't appear on other people's news feeds because it's private. But,
so I've been doing that as well, just so that it's within the private group for now. And you know, a bit like you know, I'm not looking for massive volume. I'm not looking for 1,000 people watching it. I'm happy with 10 people watching it and getting value out of it for now. And it'll slowly build. But I don't need it to be something huge.
And do you know what? Purely selfishly, it's an opportunity for me to chat to someone.
That's it.
It's nice to have someone else to talk to, and I don't care if anyone else is watching. In fact, it's a bit like being in the pub with someone listening over your shoulder. You know, what are you looking for?
Well, this is the thing, right? This is why, you know, I sort of said, look, this is a topic that is so not connected to my business or what I'm doing. But I just want to hear your story and I want to talk to you. And, you know, it's like you are a small business. So essentially we're talking about.
A lot of my stuff is online. And now you know, I used to meet with people in cafes and stuff. I don't have a space where I do my consultations and it's all doctor-like and sit in a waiting room. I don't do any of that shit. I go in my shorts and a T-shirt to a local cafe and we sit down and we talk about it because it's the stuff that we're talking about that's important. And now I can't sit in cafes and do that. I have to do it like this. So I have had to move to doing it virtually and I've had to learn a lot more about how Zoom works. And thanks to you, I learned how StreamYard works. And I've been doing all of my streams in my VIP group through StreamYard now.
Oh, cool.
And teaching other people about it too. And so a lot of the virtual stuff I've had to incorporate into what I'm doing. And that's what I was saying before. I normally give my clients a pack. I haven't got one here, but a pack with a whole lot of information in it in a plastic pocket folder with a notebook and some little sticky notes and a whole lot of stuff in it, some journaling prompts and all that kind of stuff. And I needed to send one out to a new client. And normally I would meet them and give it to them and go through it with them. And I can't do that. And so I put it in the post yesterday. And then I walked out of the post office and I thought, well, that was really stupid, Lucy. Like, they're not going to get that for 2 weeks, this rate. Right, okay, what else can I do? And I was talking to a friend and she said, well, email it to them.
Yeah, do it. That's it.
But I don't want to, because part of it is the fact that they've actually got
the cute,
blue pack, and it's the right colour, and it mixes the branding, and they get the little notebook that goes with it that, it's the right colouring, and it's all pretty, and it's part of the bundle.
Yeah.
And if you can't have all of that, it's just a whole lot of PDFs emailed to them. It's kind of losing
I hear you.
impact. So then I don't know how to make that virtual.
So what you do? No, but I don't think you make it virtual. I think you give them something to get started while they're waiting for their pack to arrive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if that's really special and important, you keep that happening. I think it's still more so now than ever. I mean, my son plays the trumpet, and so for Anzac Day, he's doing the music for mateship, standing, on the edge of the driveway playing. Yeah. Yep. And so what they had was this gorgeous letter that you could then adapt to your own and put it in all the letterboxes in your street to say, this is what we're doing, right? So we did that. We put them all in. We got 3. So we've got a couple of older generations in our street, and they all wrote these gorgeous little notes back and put them in our letterbox to Josh to say, thank you so much. How gorgeous is that? We will be there. Thank you for inviting us. So I think people still love getting things in the mail. So, it's just that little thing that you need to give them that ties them over until they get that,
And then, of course, there's the weird businessy side of it that I find really difficult to broach, which is that in my normal pattern, I would send an invoice after the first chat, and that invoice is due before the second meet where they get all the information. And now that invoice, I've sent the invoice, but it's not due until Sunday, and normally we would meet then on Monday.
Yeah.
But now I've had to post them the information before they've paid, and that sort of makes me a little uneasy. I trust them, but it just makes me a little uneasy because I don't really know them.
That's right.
And I've got an agreement with them that they're going to pay that invoice, but then, it's
so why not change it why not change it so that they pay up front before they before you post it out?
Yeah, and I think I will need to do that moving forward. I just automatically went into my Xero and did the normal invoicing and sent it off, and then I went, oh, hang on, I can't wait until next week before I post the information. Then they won't have it for another week, and they want to get going. Yeah, I don't want to send them the PDFs by email until they're paid, and I don't want to.
I know. You got to change it up, don't you? Yeah. I changed accountants last week, and there's a whole process, and they've got to send a letter to my other accountant. Anyway, there's this whole process, and I finally got an email after I signed all of their paperwork 2 weeks ago. I finally got an email from them saying, over the next 45 days, we are going to, I went, hello, just wondering whether in the next week we could make something happen because my other accountant's going to bill me on the 1st of May. So I'd like to have you taking things over before then. And she's just like, oh, yes, okay, yes, we can make that happen. I'm like, 45 days? What onboarding process takes 45 days? Yeah. That just threw me. I was just like, was that a typo? Was that should it be
maybe it was 425? Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was 45. So I just found that very strange. Anyway, but it's interesting. So before we sign off today, people can come to you at Two Lines Fertility.
Oh, how did you make that fancy thing pop up there?
Oh, I've got all sorts of little fancy things.
Clever.
That's under banners. It's very cool.
Yeah.
So you can create all of your banners, and then you just click on them as you go, and you can type as you go as well, which is really cool. So this is how people can get in touch with you if they want to find out more. Now, you're also talking about some special offers and things that you had on board.
Yes, yes. So I've got the VIP group is open for free until the end of April, which is middle of next week. After that, moving forward into May, it is a paid membership after that. What else did I put on there? I can't remember now. I sent the email.
First 30 minutes is always free.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So the first 30 minutes is always free. So book in on my website. You can head in to the front page of my website and book a free half hour. That's an opportunity for us to chat both ways, for me to see whether you're the kind of person who's going to respond to the way that I do things, and you to see whether you're the kind of person who likes me, because if we don't like each other, there's no point. So I do those free half hours. That's always free. I have e-learning modules on my website at the moment. So if you don't want to sign up for a package and have the nurturing for the 3 months thing, then you can just jump on and do the e-learning. So why aren't we pregnant yet, and what can we do about it? And all the information is there in a video delivered slideshow thingy doodah that I taught myself to do.
Fantastic. You're so resourceful.
It's that wilderness training, I tell you.
It must be, seriously. Yeah, absolutely. It's so lovely to talk to you, though, because, I think, as most people know, when you leave high school and you go on your merry little way, some friends you really, really stay in touch with. I mean, I moved away straight away.
Yep.
So I literally left and I never went back to Adelaide. So, for me, I kept in touch with a couple of the girls, and, that was great. But it's so lovely now just to slowly be connected to certain people. I'm going to bring Libby on as well, because her relationship advice, I love it. Her dating advice and stuff that will be so great for this time as well. Yeah. But there's so many of us that are doing such fabulous things. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love it.
It's good. It's really good. Very diverse, really diverse bunch. Have you chatted to Penny McCauley? She's doing some really cool stuff too.
Yeah, so I haven't chatted to Penny for 10 years. So, so there's plenty of stuff I'm sure that I can get from her. Yeah. Well, thank you, Lucy. Always,
my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing what you know.
Chatting to you. Thank you.
I really enjoy. And again, if anyone needs to get in touch with Lucy, please do so. Go to her website and pass on her information if you know somebody that needs that support.
Thank you.